You have $100. Not $100,000. Not a bonus, not an inheritance. Just $100. The amount that disappears from most people's accounts between the 1st and the 15th without leaving a traceable explanation. And you've been telling yourself that $100 is too small to matter. That you'll start investing when you have a real amount, when things settle down, when the timing is better. Here's what that decision is actually costing you. Not in theory, in numbers. Before you close this, I know what you're thinking. $100 a month is not going to change my life. The math doesn't work at that scale. I'd need thousands to make this meaningful. That's not wrong. $100 a month does not build dramatic wealth quickly. The early years are genuinely unimpressive, in a way that causes most people to stop. But the people who stop are making a specific mathematical error. They're calculating the value of $100. They should be calculating the value of 30 years of $100. Those are not the same number. And the gap between them is the thing nobody shows you before you decide it's not worth starting. 3 things we're covering. First, what the real numbers look like year by year when $100 leaves your account on the 1st of every month. Second, the strongest argument for waiting until you have more money, and exactly where that argument breaks down. Third, the specific moments in the timeline where most people quit, and what quitting actually costs in dollars. At the end, I'll give you a 3-question framework to figure out whether your reason for not starting is financial or something else entirely. Meet someone you already know. It's you. 5 years ago. You had $100 you could have automated. You didn't. Let's count what that decision cost. 5 years of $100 a month is $6,000 contributed. At 7% average annual return, the S&P 500's inflation-adjusted historical average. That $6,000 is now worth approximately $7,200. You made $1,200 beyond your contributions. That's 20% return on money you would have otherwise spent on dinners you don't remember and subscriptions you forgot existed. But here's the number that actually matters. That $7,200 sitting in the account today. You didn't just miss the $1,200 gain. You missed the compounding on that $7,200 for the next 25 years. At 7%, $7,200 left alone for 25 years becomes $39,000. The decision you made 5 years ago to wait until you had a real amount to invest didn't cost you $1,200. It cost you $39,000. On $6,000 of contributions. That's the math nobody puts in front of you when you decide to wait. Now extend it to 30 years. $100 a month. $36,000 total contributed. Balance at 7% average annual return. Approximately $121,000. The market generated $85,000. You generated $36,000. For every dollar you put in, compounding put in $2.36. $200 a month for 30 years. Approximately $243,000. $500 a month. Approximately $608,000. The variable that matters most in all of these numbers is not the amount. It's the 30 years. And every month you wait, you're not saving the $100. You're spending $236 of future money to keep it. Here's the strongest argument for waiting, and it's the one most people actually believe. $100 a month feels meaningless when your rent is $1,800, Your student loans are $400 a month, and your credit card carries a balance at 22% interest. If your credit card charges 22% and your investment returns 7%, paying off the card first is mathematically correct. That's not an excuse to delay. That's the right order of operations. And if your emergency fund is zero, investing before building 3 months of expenses in cash means a single car repair forces you to sell investments at whatever price the market is at that day. That's not investing. That's a more complicated way to break even. The argument for waiting when you have high-interest debt or no safety net is real. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But here's what that argument quietly assumes. It assumes that the debt will be paid off, the emergency fund will be built, and then the investing will start. It assumes that clearing those obstacles automatically produces the behavior on the other side. It doesn't. The J.P. Morgan study found that missing just the 10 best trading days between 2003 and 2023 cut total returns in half. Most of those 10 days happened in the 2 weeks following the worst days. The people who were waiting for things to stabilize missed the recovery that started while the news still looked terrible. The pattern isn't fix finances, then invest. The pattern for most people is fix one thing, find the next reason, delay another year, repeat. Not because they're irresponsible, because the starting never gets easier. It only gets more justified to delay. Here's where the timeline actually breaks down for most people. Not the beginning, the middle. Year 1. You set up the automatic transfer. $100 leaves on the 1st. You feel good about it. The balance after 12 months is $1,247. You made $47 beyond contributions. It feels like nothing. This is where 40% of people who start quit. Because $47 doesn't feel like evidence that it's working. It feels like evidence that it's too small to matter. Here's what $47 actually is. It's not a return. It's a rate. That same rate applied to a larger base next year produces $94. The year after, $145. The compounding isn't dramatic yet, but it is present, and it is accelerating. Stopping now doesn't save you $100 a month. It stops the acceleration. Year 5. Balance around $7,200. Monthly return approximately $42. Your money is now generating $42 a month by existing. You're contributing $100. The market is contributing $42 without you doing anything. This is where the second wave of quitting happens. Not because it's not working, it clearly is, but because your income is higher now. The $100 feels routine, almost too small. And the voice that says you deserve to spend more, that 1 year of pausing won't matter, is loudest exactly when continuity matters most. The person who pauses at year 5 and resumes at year 8 didn't lose $3,600 in contributions. They lost the compounding on that $3,600 for the remaining 22 years. At 7%, that pause cost approximately $19,000. Not $3,600, $19,000. Made carelessly, in a moment when stopping felt like it barely mattered. Year 10. Balance approximately $17,400. The market did 45% of the work this year. You did 55%. In 2 more years, the market will do more than you. After that crossover, you could stop contributing entirely, and the account would still grow every year by more than you were putting in. You almost certainly won't stop. Because by year 10, the behavior isn't a discipline, it's a default. The $100 leaves on the 1st the way rent leaves, without decision, without reconsideration. The identity shift that happened when you set up the transfer, the moment you went from someone who intends to invest to someone who invests is now so complete that stopping would feel like the anomaly. 3 questions. Answer them before you decide today is not the day to start. Most people think, is $100 enough to matter? They compare it to the balance they want, and it feels laughably small. The right question is, what does $100 a month for 30 years actually produce? And have I ever calculated that number? Most people haven't. Run it. Use any compound interest calculator. Put in $100, 7%, 30 years. See the number. Then ask yourself if the reason you haven't started is financial or if it's something else. Most people think, I'll start when I have more to invest. They're waiting for a threshold that feels real. The right question is, what specific financial condition needs to be true before I start? And do I have a date by which that condition will be met? If you can't name a specific date, you don't have a plan to start later. You have a permanent deferral with a temporary-sounding name. Most people think, the early years don't matter because the returns are so small. They look at $47 in year 1 and see evidence the math doesn't work. The right question is, am I calculating the value of $100 or the value of 30 years of $100? Those are different calculations with answers that differ by $85,000. If you're doing the first one, you're solving the wrong problem. 3 things to take with you. The cost of waiting is not the $100 you keep. It's the compounding on that $100 for every remaining year of your investment horizon. That cost is invisible in month 1 and enormous by year 30. The hardest part of investing $100 a month is not month 1. It's year 5, when the balance feels real enough to spend, but the compounding hasn't yet made the cost of stopping obvious. The question is never just, is $100 enough? It's, what does the version of me who started 5 years ago look like right now? And am I willing to be that person in 5 more years, or the other one? If this changed how you think about starting small, send it to someone who's been saying they'll start investing when they have a real amount. That conversation might be worth $85,000 to them.